Hello and welcome back to George Past the Post. This is a very exciting video. Well, we'll see, I guess. Those of you who watched my video about the Welsh Assembly voting system will know that I left one question unanswered because I didn't know the answer, which was what happens with independent candidates. What happens if an independent candidate were to receive enough votes so that they would actually be entitled to more than one seat if they had been standing as a political party? What happens to the seats that they would have been entitled to? Do they remain vacant, or are they reallocated to the other candidates? And I couldn't find the answer, so I went on the Senate website and there was an email address, and I emailed them and I asked them that question. And I did caveat it with, I'm afraid I do have a rather nerdy question. And I received the answer, which is that what happens is that if an independent receives enough votes to be elected, then that's it, they're elected, and then they are taken out of the calculation. So that would mean if a candidate, if an independent candidate, if they had enough votes to get 2 seats, then they're only given the 1 seat because they're an independent. So there's no other candidate to fill the seat. What then happens is that seat, which would have gone to an independent if they'd been a party, is reallocated to the other parties. So let me give you an example. Probably is an unlikely scenario, but I do these videos, so I'm in charge. Let's say that you had a very popular independent in a constituency. And let's say that independent, let's say they get 40% of the vote, and let's say the rest of the vote is divided something like, Party A 19, Party B 13, C 11, D 10, E 7. I have no idea if that adds up to 100, but so let's say the independent is very popular and they get 40% of the vote. Now, they would, if the independent had been a party, they would actually be entitled to 3 seats because of how fragmented the vote would be among the parties. And so you would have got 3 for the independent and then 1 each for parties A, B, and C. But as per the email that I received, what would actually happen is the independent would be declared elected, but the 2 seats which they would have got if they'd been a party, which of course they wouldn't have got because they were independent, so the independent would be removed from the calculation, which means that the result would be independent 1, and then party A would get 2 seats, B and C would still get 1 seat, and D would get a seat in a way they wouldn't have done if the independent had been treated as a party. Now this throws up, I'm not saying any of the independent candidates are necessarily going to get anywhere near 40%, let alone be entitled to have been entitled to the 3 seats. It does throw up an anomaly, and of course, different voting systems have different rules. Different PR list systems have different rules. It's if you get this scenario where an independent would be entitled to more than 1 seat, so you have a seat which can't really be filled, your options are either are not great, because you either have to say, well, we're going to leave a seat unfilled, which means the constituency goes with 1 less member, which doesn't seem fair, or you say that, well, we're just going to remove the independent from the calculation, and so you kind of get for those seats that you're reallocating, it may be not quite reflective of what the voters might have wanted. Whereas if this had been a single transferable vote election, we may not have wouldn't have had this issue, because if you have a really popular independent with single transferable vote, you number the candidates in order of preference. So people who would have voted this independent would have also been able to give a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th choice for some of the candidates from political parties. Because in STV, even if you're running for a party, you're also running as an individual candidate. And so the candidates all sort of run on the same ballot. So with STV, you get to choose the candidates. But this isn't the case with the closed list system. So in that case, once the independent was elected, they'd have got over the quota. Their surplus votes would, I may as well go there. Their surplus votes would be reallocated to the other candidates, which may have given a more representative result when the other seats were then allocated. But anyway, as ever, I meant this video to be short, but here we are, 5 minutes later. So yeah, that's what happens to. That's what would happen if an independent candidate got a vote share where they would actually be entitled to more than one seat. The seat that they would have won, the additional seat or seats, would just be reallocated to the other parties based on the D'Hondt formula. So there, I'm sure I've made your evening. I'm sure you're all dying to know the answer to that question. So thank you very much. Goodbye.